That day, in the peaceful little village, the sky seemed heavy with the sound of quarrels echoing everywhere. A young man, his face red with anger, stood in front of the door of the old woman who was known as the wisest woman in the village. He shouted loudly, "Tell me, why are you always so happy? Life is not always easy. Are you pretending to be happy to teach us a lesson?" The neighbors gathered, curious at this rare sight. The old woman stepped out, her eyes bright as if smiling, not angry at the insolent words. She replied, her voice calm, "Son, come in here. I have a story to tell. Maybe it will help you understand." Although still angry, the young man quietly entered the small house. The people standing outside also listened silently, as if the atmosphere there was about to reveal a great secret. The old woman poured tea, her hands gentle, like the gestures of someone who had gone through many storms in life. When everything was quiet, she began, "I wasn't always a cheerful person. In fact, there was a time when I was drowning in sorrow and despair. Do you want to hear?" The young man frowned, his face doubtful. But the old woman's eyes were so understanding that he couldn't refuse. He nodded. "When I was young, I had a small family. We weren't rich, but we were very happy. I had a loving husband and 3 obedient children. I thought my life was complete, but life wasn't always as I wanted. One day, my husband fell seriously ill. We didn't have the money to buy medicine. No matter how hard I tried, he didn't make it." Her voice dropped. The people around her fell silent, holding their breath. Some had tears in their eyes. I cried for months, not wanting to eat or drink. Every day, I just thought that I couldn't live anymore. But then one day, my eldest son took me by the hand and said, "Mom, we need you. If you give up, what will we do?" The old woman paused, her eyes looking back at a distant memory. Those words woke me up. I realized that my suffering did not affect me alone. The people around me needed me to be strong. And from that, I learned something important. Happiness does not come from what you have or what you lose. It comes from how you choose to face what happens. The young man, now no longer discontented, asked softly, "But how do you do it? How do you find happiness in such suffering?" She smiled kindly. "You know, every morning when I wake up, I ask myself a question. What can I be grateful for today? Some days, I am grateful that the sun is still up and that the birds are singing outside. There are days when I simply give thanks that I am still alive to see my children smile. Every day, I find a little thing to hold on to pull myself out of the depths of despair." The young man wondered, "But what if something really bad happens? Can you still find something to be grateful for?" The old woman nodded. "I tell myself, this too shall pass. The days of suffering do not last forever, just like storms that eventually pass. The important thing is that in those moments, you find something to sustain yourself. A deep breath, a warm look, or simply the patience to wait for time to heal." The young man was silent. The old woman's words were like drops of water seeping into his barren soul. Finally, she said, "Son, happiness is a choice. This life is not always easy, but you can choose how you face it. If you keep looking at the loss, you will always be in the dark. But if you try to look for the light, you will see it, even on the darkest days." The young man left the old woman's house, his heart heavy but full of thoughts. He began to try to follow her advice. Every morning, he found something to be grateful for: the warm sunshine, the laughter of the village children, or simply a delicious meal. Gradually, he realized that his life was changing. Things that used to make him angry now became valuable lessons. The old woman's story spread throughout the village, then far beyond that small village. People shared it on social media, along with their feelings. Happiness is not something that comes from outside, but how we choose to look at life. The old woman's story not only changed the young man's life, but also inspired thousands of others. Even though life is difficult, everyone can learn to find joy in the little things and face life with a peaceful heart. The old woman's secret has become a guiding light for all those who are searching for true happiness. The old woman's story is like a mirror reflecting our souls, helping us realize that happiness is not a random gift that life gives us, nor is it a condition that we have to wait for or achieve. Happiness, in fact, is how we choose to perceive and react to every event that happens. In this unpredictable world, there are endless things we cannot control, but the choice of how to live and how to feel is always in our hands. It is in that choice that we find the strength to smile, even when dark clouds obscure the sun. Happiness, therefore, does not come from circumstances, but from our mindset. Do you dare to choose happiness starting today? Happiness is a choice, not a circumstance. Did you know that Abraham Lincoln, the great president who led the United States through the dark period of the Civil War, was mercilessly ridiculed throughout his life because of his appearance and poor background? Yet, he not only stood firm in the face of harsh words, but also became a symbol of resilience and optimism. What is his secret? He once said, "Most people are as happy as they decide to be." Just think, even someone as stressed as Lincoln understood that happiness is not about circumstances, but about how we choose to see them. So, have you ever thought that you can choose to be happy, even when things are not going your way? Let me share a shocking number. According to a psychological study, 50% of our happiness is determined by genetics, 10% by circumstances, but 40% by our daily choices. This means that you hold almost half of the key to your happiness. But hey, before you think, easier said than done, try answering this question. When was the last time you smiled at something small in your life? Maybe it was a cup of fragrant morning coffee, a hug from a loved one, or just a moment lying in a comfortable bed after a long day. These things, though small, are great fuel for happiness, if you choose to notice and appreciate them. Don't let your circumstances turn you into a victim. Be the storyteller of your own life. Instead of blaming the bad weather, learn to enjoy the cold with a cup of hot tea. Instead of being sad about failure, see it as an opportunity to learn. You see, happiness is not something you find. It is something you create. So today, what will you choose to bring a smile to your face? Leave a reason for being grateful or happy recently. Who knows, you might inspire someone who needs a little light in the midst of the clouds. Happiness is a choice, but sometimes, even when we choose it, we still have to face days when life is like a big storm, pushing and drowning all hope. But have you noticed? Even the fiercest storms will eventually pass, giving way to clear blue skies. Life is the same. Every sadness, failure, or suffering, no matter how big, will pass. The magic lies in this. If you are patient and steadfast, you will not only overcome, but also grow from those challenges. And like the sunshine after the rain, you will look back and smile, realizing that you are stronger than ever. So, are you ready to explore with me the power of believing in the simple but profound saying, this too shall pass? Did you know that Winston Churchill, who led Britain through World War II, failed miserably as a young man and was even considered a failure? Instead of giving up, he lived through those failures because he believed, if you're going through hell, keep going. And he did, and he survived and became a symbol of resilience. The story reminds us that no matter how bad things get, this too shall pass. Think about it. How many times have you had days when everything seemed to be against you? Your car broke down just as you were late for work. Your work piled up like a mountain, and your boss turned down your project. Did you feel like the universe was playing a trick on you? But then, slowly or quickly, things got better. You fixed your car, finished your work, and started a new, better project. Now, doesn't that mean everything passes? The phrase, "this too shall pass," may seem simple, but it has a magical power. It reminds us that nothing is permanent, not even the greatest pain or hardship. Do you remember the last time you were heartbroken over a breakup? At the time, you thought you would never forget it. But now looking back, are you stronger, even smiling when remember it? Life is a series of waves, sometimes high, sometimes calm. But you know what's most important? It's how we keep our hands steady in the middle of those waves. So when things get tough, remember that negative emotions are only temporary. The bad days will pass, and you will see the sunrise brighter than ever. Try this. When things go wrong, don't ask yourself, "Why me?" But say to yourself, "This too shall pass, and I will be stronger." Just a little change in thinking can help you feel lighter, like putting an umbrella in the rain. The rain may not stop right away, but at least you'll be less wet. Now, I want to hear from you. What was the last time you overcame a challenge? What helped you stay strong and keep going? Your story could be a light for someone who feels lost. And don't forget, no matter how bad today was, tomorrow is always a new chance to start over. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our story today. In our journey through life, we have always believed that we all have the power to find light even in the darkest days, and your companionship has fueled our belief. Looking back, we have shared stories and connected through moments of understanding, love, and encouragement. You inspire us to continue telling healing stories, spreading positive messages, and making life better every day. If you feel this story has touched your heart, please click like so that we can spread this positive energy to more people. Don't forget to share so that those who need a little light can also receive this spiritual gift. And most importantly, comment below a quote that inspires you. Who knows, yours might be the spark that warms someone's heart today. Together, we can make the world a gentler place, one story at a time.